Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to our September 13th, 2018 school board meeting. We have completed our executive session, and would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Let's turn to board recognitions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the board, if you will join me down front. We'll have Kevin Daniel come forward and bring the board recognitions.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Good evening, everyone. Chairman Wheeler, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent, tonight we have some excellent recognitions tonight. First, we're pleased to begin by recognizing and paying tribute to all public safety personnel. Public Safety Appreciation Week is October the 1st through October the 7th. This week gives the community the opportunity to come together and show appreciation for the hard-working public safety personnel. And we certainly want to express our gratitude to the district's very own police department and all that they do every day for our students and for our staff. We have one of the largest departments and one of the most well-trained officers anywhere around, and we are very proud of them. So at this time, I'm going to ask them to stand. I think they're all standing in the back, but I'm going to acknowledge them before they come up. And this is our Cobb County School District Police Department. It's Chief Ron Story, Captain Wayne Pickett, Lieutenant Mike Wilson, Sergeant Tom Arnold, Sergeant Mike Young, Officer Tim Jennings, Officer Danny Hubbard, Officer Bill Cardone, Officer Bill Dawson, Officer Phil Bradford, who's in the front and can stand, Officer Pete Saxon, Officer Marshall Dooling, and our very own K-9 officer, Sadie, is here as well. Would all of you come forward along with any other officers and be recognized by the board and the superintendent? Let me say again, we are very grateful and appreciative to all of our officers and all of the hard work that they do every day. Next, we'll be recognizing the accomplishments of 7 students who participated in the National Invention Convention and Entrepreneurship Expo that was held this summer in Michigan. This is an invitation-only event offering student inventors in grades K through 12 an opportunity to showcase their inventive and entrepreneurial spirit. And we're going to announce them separately and let them come up by the schools that they're at. And wait till you hear some of their inventions that they came up with. Our first recognition is in the area of Sports, Games, Entertainment, and Toys Award, and it's presented to the students at Dickerson Middle School. If you'll stand when I call your name. Michael Muldoon, Christopher Carrero, and Jesse Niederjohn. If they'll stand, remain standing right there. I'm going to talk about your invention before you come up. Their invention is the lightning shock sticker. It should be noted that these recipients completed this when they were in elementary school. They completed it last year. They were fifth graders at Mount Bethel, and like I said, they're currently students at Dickerson. Christopher suffered a concussion during a lacrosse game, and not realizing how hard he had been hit, was not diagnosed for over 24 hours regarding that concussion. Christopher, Michael, and Jesse worked together to develop a product to alert coaches, referees, and parents to the severity of the impact. These three inventors created a light-up adhesive sticker, and they called it the Lightning Shock Sticker. And it can be applied directly to the exterior of any sports helmet in the area where the impact is most likely to occur. After the impact, the Lightning Shock Sticker can categorically qualify if the impact was severe enough to cause a concussion, needing any medical attention. So great invention, gentlemen. If they'll come forward with principal, please come on forward. Right here. I'm going to ask the following people to come up here as well. Jessica Appleyard, principal at Mount Bethel, Adam Hill, principal at Dickerson, and Sarah Kessel, our supervisor for advanced learning programs. Please come up with them. Parents, I want to get in the picture. You can? Oh, you can take a picture.
Thank you. Focus on the voice.
All right, gentlemen. Our next recognition is in the area of Accessibility Award, and it is to Harrison High School student Isabella Parker. Isabella, will you please stand? She invented the CAT RAM. Isabella's invention, the CAT RAM, is an acronym for Kinesthetic Approach to Retaining and Adapting Muscle Memory. And it is a device that allows individuals who suffer from dysgraphia, stroke, and Parkinson's disease to develop and retain muscle memory to allow patients to relearn how to write letters and how to write words. Isabella's entry was awarded the Global Change Award in Accessibility, sponsored by 3Doodler, and the device is presently going through the patent process. So congratulations, great job. Please come forward along with Ashlyn Campbell, principal at Harrison. Our final recognition for the National Invention Convention and Engineering Expo is the Best of Show Best Engineering Award, and it goes to Walton High School students, if they'll stand, Noah Bruckner, Rishab Raul, and Alexa Holdmeyer, and their invention is the Hydraptor. So they are standing there. When a Walton's coach home burned down due to firefighters struggling to get the hoses attached to the neighborhood fire hydrant, these three inventors realized this was a serious problem with potentially life-threatening consequences. They developed a solution. It's the Hydraptor. It's a device that makes it easier to connect a hose to a fire hydrant or even a household spigot. Noah, Rishab, and Alexa won Best of Show, Best Engineering Award for their invention. Congratulations. Please come forward with Principal Dr. Catherine Milanda. We turn our attention now to athletics, and we want to recognize Kell High School sophomore Ebony Jackson. Ebony, please stand. All right, there's Ebony. He won the Class 5A state championship for track and field 100-meter and 200-meter dash last May. Ebony's 100-meter time was 10.57 seconds, and the 200-meter time was 21.49 seconds. Congratulations, Ebony, on this outstanding achievement. Please come forward along with coaches P.J. Stone and Eric Miller, and your principal, Dr. Andy Bristow. Y'all please come forward. And finally, tonight, we have the pleasure of recognizing the district's Business Services Department for receiving 2 awards recently. They got the 2018 Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award for the 14th consecutive year, 14 years in a row. The Cobb County School District is only one of 13 government agencies in Georgia and only one of 26 in the districts in the nation to receive this award. The second award they get is the Outstanding Agency Accreditation Achievement Award. And this is a 3-year certification, and Cobb is one of only 149 government agencies out of over 3,000 to receive this award. So congratulations to this department. As I call your name, please stand, and then we'll have you come up in a minute. Senior Executive Director for Business Services is Jill Vestal. Procurement Services, David Odom. Assistant Director is Barbara Bates. Purchasing Agents is Gary Blunt and Chris McSpadden. Senior Buyer, Daphne Bailey. And Buyers, Lori Latif and Melanie Timmerman. Would all of you please come forward with anyone else from your department to be recognized by the board and the superintendent? Mr. Chair, that concludes all of our recognitions for this evening.
Thank you. Let's Randy up. Let's move on to public comment. Mr. Doyle, how many? I guess we had 5 speakers.
We have 5 speakers, Mr. Chair.
We do 3 minutes apiece.
Very well.
Our first speaker tonight is Michael Starnes, representing VFW Post 5408 from Ackworth.
Thank you. Wasn't expecting to go first, but at any rate, ladies and gentlemen of the board and Superintendent Ragsdale, thank you. I came out tonight to represent Post 5408 of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. We're located in Ackworth, Georgia. It's that time of year again. The VFW does a yearly Teacher of the Year Award. It's called the Smart Maher Citizenship Education Teacher Award. And it's basically the criteria of it is we look for teachers and educators who emphasize citizenship, national pride, civic responsibility, flag etiquette, patriotism. Folks that exhibit these qualities are the ones that we look at as candidates for it. I passed out a brochure for everyone, I believe. And the top center paragraphs kind of sums it up. It's in addition to the teachers who promote civic responsibility. It's, maybe an instructor invites veterans into the classroom to discuss military experiences. Perhaps you're familiar with a teacher who fosters the development of democratic values and beliefs through special projects. If you have teachers who are, involved in Habitat for Humanity, for example, generally those folks they let their students know about it. But the deadline for the contest is October 31st. And so we know we're going to have a lot of candidates from Cobb County Schools. So we were hoping to get them in by October 22nd. Sort of gives us a little bit of extra time to judge. But as far as the submissions for candidates for this award, what we look for is a short resume, no more than 350 words. And then they can be recommended by administrators, colleagues, other teachers, neighbors. And again, the deadline is the 31st. The national award for the Smart Mayor Award is $1,000 to the teacher, but also the school also receives $1,000 as well. So, and for Cobb County, there are two posts in Cobb County. You have
30 seconds.
You have the Rainbow Post in Marietta, and you have our post in Ackworth. And so I would be the contact for the post in Ackworth, and I've submitted my contact information electronically already. So thank you very much. All right.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Maciuski. And she's going to address digital textbooks, and she'll be followed by Renee Dodd.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Macheski. I know some of y'all are probably tired of hearing from me by now because I keep emailing. As you're aware, and most of you probably are aware now, we've switched to digital textbooks for science and social studies this year across the board. And that's true at my daughter's school. She's a junior at Sprayberry. She takes AP classes. She's in AP Psych and AP Physics at the moment, and both of them have digital textbooks. The reading level is intensive in those classes. And she does not have a physical device that was provided by the county to access said textbooks. They're not the same as the print version. The print version of these textbooks is literally a print version. The online textbook allows for things such as, you can highlight certain notes that goes into a notes section, which makes it easier when you want to go back and make physical note cards. There are embedded materials, instructional materials, quizzes, those types of things in the book itself. And I don't understand why a county such as ours that has a student population in which 44% of its students receive free and reduced lunches would implement a program in which you take 2 of their core content area classes require them to use digital textbooks and do not provide them with hardware to access that material. I've asked a few times Ms. Lawson, the Chief Academic Officer, if they can do something like take existing technology and allow students to check it out for the duration of the semester, and I haven't heard anything back. I do know that at Sprayberry they do a great job of working with kids with technology in the classroom. They give them time in class to work on essays and such, so they have time to write and do their typing in class. They have a program there where they can check out a laptop overnight. That does not meet the needs for consuming this volume of material on a regular basis. I actually had an individual from the county who spent 50 minutes on the phone with me, 50 minutes, almost an hour, walking me through how we could retrofit the textbook to work on our iPhone. And we did find a way to do it, but I do not want my child reading her AP Psych textbook on this device. It's absurd.
30 seconds.
So I want to know from the board what you intend to do to assess this in the county. You never surveyed the parents to find out if this was going to be an issue for any of us. You've never asked now, is it an issue? The rollout has been an absolute nightmare with teachers not having access to books, students not having access to books, the physical copies they claimed would be provided, the online access, it just doesn't exist. It is now, it's present for most of them, but the first month was an absolute mess. So I'd like to know what you guys are going to do to address that situation and ensure that equity happens in our district.
Our next speaker is Renee Dodd, who will discuss school safety, followed by Carol Thompson.
Superintendent and board, thank you for your time. I know that when I was on the website earlier today, the thing I always see is committed to serving each and every child. And I recognize that Cobb County is doing several things for the safety of our students, but I've been going to the safety meetings. I've spoken to the new emergency management specialists, the Department of Prevention Intervention. I've been talking with school counselors and teachers, and I'm finding that what Cobb County School District's implementing is more of reactive than proactive type processes, and that the counselors and the teachers are also stretched thin to provide the emotional support that these students need. And we know when a student is stressed out, they're not going to be learning very well, and if it's not addressed, it could turn into something either violent or possibly even suicidal. I know that one of the things was the new position of the emergency management specialist and the alert point system. But that system only allows school personnel to be able to use it. Currently, if a student in Cobb County or a parent wants to report a suspicious behavior or maybe suicidal behavior, they have to go to someone that they feel that they can confide in. The Department of Prevention Intervention pointed me to the Georgia Health Survey 2.0, and I took a sampling of about 40% of the Cobb students, which was about 45,000 kids. Some of the results from that were, do you feel safe in your school? And 19% said they strongly agree. But 19,000. But 27,000 said that they don't strongly agree. Fear of other students hurting them, 3,000 strongly agree. Unsafe at school, 4,000. Concerned about their physical safety, over 4,000 strongly agree. And again, that's just a sampling. It's probably more like 10,000. Have considered suicide, about 4,000 students, and have attempted suicide, over 1,500 students. And I keep thinking, committed to serving each and every child. Right now, Cherokee County Schools has implemented the Safe Schools alert system. This system allows students, parents, school staff, and even the community to anonymously report concerns to a more central place. Right now, Cobb County has each school implement their own. It's very siloed and creates inconsistencies. And as mentioned earlier today in your meeting, the schools need to provide more consistency and also to be able to compare apples to apples. Right now, a student has to go to someone they trust, but when you have students moving to different schools, who are they going to trust when they're new to that school or when they're going from middle school to high school? There's no way for them, they're not going to feel comfortable enough to report it to somebody. I would like something like the school safety system implemented by January if possible, but definitely by next fall, just as if Cherokee County has already implemented. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Carol Thompson, who will discuss school bullying. She'll be followed by Connie Jackson.
Thank you for letting me speak again. You may recall that the woman who spoke before me last month spoke about a 15-year-old boy who was picked on and then attacked by an 18-year-old that outweighed him by about 80 pounds, with an equally large accomplice beside him. The man received no punishment, while the 15-year-old scared kid that did nothing but successfully protect himself from two much larger students is fighting 2 felonies and 3 lesser charges in court next month because, I'm told, the school administration omitted key facts from their report to the police. If true, these seemingly willful omissions protected the bully and vilified the victim. That bully is the same man that I talked about last month that threatened my freshman son back in February. He threatened to come to our house and bragged about his new gun. He bullied my older son and all of his friends for the duration of middle school. The middle school did nothing that curbed the bully's behavior. The high school did absolutely nothing about the February threat for over 5 weeks. They repeatedly lied to me throughout and after their investigation. I've given all of you a copy of their lies along with the timeline. They are such simple lies and manipulation to uncover, yet no one seems willing to do it. Why? Why do bullies get away with their brutality so often? Why do these administrators get away with it? It makes no sense. The administration's dishonesty goes against their code of ethics, yet they're still employed with what seems to be their same jobs, potentially causing an innocent kid to have a criminal record because you distorted the truth to the police should be cause to lose your job instantly. Any lesser reprimand isn't enough, yet he's still allowed around our kids. Letting a violent man roam the halls without warning the teachers that he's made a threat against a specific student is negligent. My son could have gotten seriously hurt because your school failed to even just warn the teachers. This bully bragged about putting another kid's head in a locker and slamming the door on it the year prior. He accidentally shot his friend in the head with the gun they stole just a couple weeks after graduation. He's the kind of bully that's a danger, and you should alert people to him when you receive specific threats. Instead, your school administrators just gave me lip service and hoped it would all just go away. It doesn't fix things. That doesn't protect our kids, and it has to stop. This bully isn't the only one in our school, in all of our schools, your school district. How many other people are in danger right now because your administrators are more concerned about their school's reputations than with their safety? I can't tell you how many times I've been lied
30
to
seconds.
over the years when my sons have been attacked. The excuses your administrators give are reprehensible and help no one, aside from keeping the squeaky clean reputations of the school. Let me tell you, the 6-foot, 12-year-old repeatedly punching my older son in the head wasn't still learning right from wrong, as the assistant principal told me. The 11-year-old bully that had already broken one kid's arm, another's fingers, groped half a dozen girls, didn't just lose his balance when he left a shoe imprint on my younger son's leg that lasted a week. I'm not special. This is just one more second. I'm just one of the thousands of families in your district. How many others have similar stories? Please fix our school system and stop allowing these things to continue. Thank you.
Our final speaker, Mr. Chairman, is Connie Jackson, who will discuss testing results.
Good evening. As we said here earlier today, the school district presented the results of the kindergarten program, and I almost started crying. I don't cry. I'm not that kind of person. But those results were amazing and astounding. To have every kindergartner that entered that school reading on or at grade level or above at the end of that school year is something that just doesn't happen unless it was somewhere like Mountain View or Tritt. But to have it happen at one of our South Cobb schools is just stupendous. It's something we should be shouting. We should call every newspaper and television and tell them to cover this story. And I think this is something that we need to let people know that we are working and that we are coming up with things that are innovative and new, and that we are serving our children. And I want to especially praise the people that put this program in place, even though she's not paying attention to me. Because this is what we have to do. We have to reach out to our children who need us the most early. By the time they get to 3rd and 4th grade, or even where I taught in middle school, it's usually too late. We have to have pre-K. We have to have kindergarten. I know the pre-K program, there are issues with space and money and all of that, because teachers cost money. Believe me, if anybody knows that, it's me. But this kind of programming, pre-K, kindergarten, early kindergarten, this is what we have to have. If we have them all reading at the end of kindergarten, it'll make it so much easier for the rest of their life. So please, let's replicate this. Let's do it. Let's get it going. And thank you to the people who have worked so hard and put their blood, sweat, and tears. And thank you to the teachers that did this and put in, I know, countless hours besides the ones that are on the books. Thank you.
Thank you, all public speakers. Next, we'll have items requiring action following executive session. Mr. Ragsdale.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm going to ask Mr. Adams to bring all of the items requiring executive session action.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Mr. Chair, members of the board, it's my pleasure to bring you the Human Resources Personnel Report for today, September 13th, 2018. The administration recommends the approval of the identified employment actions of those individuals listed on the Personnel Action Report as discussed in executive session. We have one principal level or higher position recommendation. Recommend that you approve the retirement of Susan Christensen, Director in Special Education, to be effective November 1, 2018. This concludes the personnel report.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion? Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Make a recommendation. We accept the superintendent's personnel action report as presented.
Second, Mr. Scamahorn? All in favor? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to congratulate Susan Christensen for her decades of dedicated service. She has just been a stalwart for this county, for the school district. She's worked special needs requirements and worked with families year in, year out. She will be sorely missed. I have had the pleasure of knowing her. I had the pleasure of working with her husband before he retired. And for many years, they're just a super family. They're going to be missed. I hope they stay in Cobb County so that we can call on their expertise from time to time if needed. I wish her and the family only the best, and good luck. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Scamahorn. All right, we have a motion, a second discussion. Any, all in favor? Opposed? Excuse me. You want to, did I miss you? Okay. All right. Motion carries 7-0. Any land legal? Or are we done? And next is agenda items. Action agenda. All consent 1 through 6. If there's no opposition, that passes. And now we go to number 7.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm going to ask Mr. Adams to come and bring agenda item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Once again, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Agenda item number 7, recommendation for approval of an intergovernmental agreement or intergovernmental agreements. They're actually two separate ones, between Cobb County Board of Commissioners and the Cobb County School District for roadway improvements along Jim Owens Road at Lewis Elementary School and along New Macklin Road at McEachern High School. As discussed in detail during the day meeting, Cobb County Board of Commissioners has included both of those projects in their SPLOST projects. They're going to be conducting fairly extensive traffic improvement construction near both of those schools. Specifically near Lewis, they're going to be installing a roundabout. Total construction cost about $2 million. We are agreeing to allow them to conduct a relatively small amount of work, just under $6,800 worth of work while they're there, essentially, and improve the main school driveway there at Lewis while they're doing nearby construction right next to the school. And then in the case of McEachern, they're going to be doing, the county commissioners, about $1.7 million of work at McEachern, and we would be allowing them to do just under $59,000 worth of work there to improve 3 school driveways and sidewalks at McEachern. Both improvements at both Lewis and McEachern intended to enhance safety along the roadway. As we've done in the past, the IGA will allow them to do the work. We'll get economy of scale, and then once the work is finished to our satisfaction, we've inspected it and been invoiced, then we'll pay for those 2 amounts that you see. So this is a great partnership between the 2 of us. We anticipate, if the board approves this, that they'll start the work in May of 19 and should finish the following summer. And I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any questions? Mr. Skidmore?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommendation of action agenda item number 7.
I'd like to second that myself. And this time, all in favor? All right, wait a minute. We have any discussion? Mr. Skidmore.
Since you asked, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say, for those that haven't been out to Lewis Elementary, there is no queuing line for cars, period. You turn off a very busy 2-lane road, Jim Owens Road, and it's there. They block traffic. It's probably as bad as like the old Brumby was, if not worse, because Brumby had 4 lanes and you at least kind of get around the whatever. So I would, it'll be great for the neighborhood for this to go through. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 7-0. Item number 8.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm going to ask Mr. Brad Johnson to come and start agenda item number 8 for us.
You just worked with that.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent, agenda item number 8 is a recommendation to utilize general fund reserves for the continuation of an existing instructional technology project. The district is currently implementing interactive classroom flat panel screens in school classrooms as part of an instructional technology initiative. Approval to temporarily utilize general fund reserves until SPLOST 5 revenues are available for reimbursement will enable the district to maintain the progress of this project for a projected completion date of next year. Replacing outdated technology such as overhead projectors, etc., will save the district an estimated $400,000 a year associated with the maintenance of existing audio and visual equipment. Flat panel screen installations in the months of September through January would utilize these funds at a cost of $6.5 million. The general fund will be reimbursed next year when SPLOST 5 revenues are available sometime in February or March. For the board's consideration, the superintendent's recommendation is to approve the utilization of general fund reserves for the interactive flat panel screens. Mr. Chairman, this agenda item is for the board's consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. You have a motion. Mr. Chastain, second. Mr. Scamhorn, any discussion? None. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm going to ask Mr. John Adams to come and bring agenda item number 9.
Thank you, sir. Last but not least, agenda item number 9, recommendation for approval to award a contract for a new gymnasium at Lassiter High School. Once again, as discussed in more detail during the day meeting, in accordance with the approved with SPLOST 4 and is funded in SPLOST 4, Lassiter High School is scheduled to receive a new gymnasium. Awarding of the contract at this time will allow us and the project to remain on schedule with a substantial completion date in November of 2019. We had 5 proposals. We're recommending that you award the contract to RK Redding Construction out of Bremen, Georgia, and thus authorize the superintendent to execute the contract for the amount you see there, $15.66 million. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. We have a motion. Mr. Banks.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve an award for a contract for a new gymnasium at Lassiter High School as presented in action agenda item number 9.
We have a second. Mr. Sweeney, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. This brings us to board member comments, and we'll start this month with Mr. Scamahorn down here on the left.
He does know that I'm here. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My remarks will be brief. First of all, I'd like to thank Ackworth Elementary for a very wonderful and heartfelt celebration, if you will, of those lives that were taken during 9/11, as well as a remembrance of those lives. It was a very simple but moving ceremony day before yesterday. I would also say, even though it was 17 years ago, keep your thoughts and prayers for the families that are still suffering today from that catastrophe and that tragedy. I'd also like to ask that everybody celebrate those that are in uniform, our firefighters, our policemen. This is the week dedicated to them. Know that very few of us have the courage to run toward danger, toward the shooting, toward the fire. Very few of us, most of us, human nature is to run away from while they're moving toward to try to help and to save lives. Shake their hands, buy them lunch if you get an opportunity. I guarantee you, you'll get more out of it than they do. So keep their families in mind. And for those that have given us the ultimate sacrifice, wearing the police uniform and the firefighters, keep those families in your thoughts and prayers for them, because those families will suffer for the rest of their lives. And I yield back, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to send out my gratitude to 2 elementary schools in Post 3. The first one being Bryant Elementary with Dr. Tamika Klein. They had a celebration of the students who earned a 4 on the, cover your ears, the milestone. And yeah, right.
That autopsy too?
The autopsy, you know. But I appreciate her extending that invitation. I enjoyed the ceremony, and the students and the families were, you could tell they were elated by that accomplishment. The other one is Miss Fiedler, Laura Fiedler over at Sanders Elementary. Yesterday they had a literacy day, and CBS Channel 46 came out, and a lot of the anchors and meteorologists and things of that nature. And it was the energy was infectious. The children were excited to receive books and book bags, and you could tell that the people that came from CBS Channel 46, that they were truly invested in telling the children a little bit about what they do and connecting with the staff. I want to thank both of those principals for inviting me out. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank, I had a chance to attend several open houses at the beginning of the school year, specifically at Teasley Elementary, Wheeler High School, Walton High School, and Dickerson Middle School. And it just amazes me at how much work. It's not just the administration of each school, but it's what the families and the PTAs, the PTSAs, and everybody else puts into those programs, and really, really appreciate that. Secondly, I want to extend appreciation to Dr. Laura Lee Hill at Dodgen Middle School. She hosted a safety meeting. We had several of our Cobb Police Department members there, including Officer Phil here, who gave a fantastic presentation on the alert point system and what it does and how that is going to make our schools safer. But we had people and representatives from our Operations and Communications Department that really did a phenomenal job as well. Dickerson Middle School this evening, we heard about the National Invention, Convention, and Engineering Awards for Sports, Gaming, Entertainment, and Toys Award. Extend congratulations to Michael Muldoon, Christopher Correa, and Jesse Niederjohn, and also at Walton High School, had Best of Show Engineering Award at that National Invention Convention, and that's to Noah Bruckner, Rashab Rayo, and Alexander Holdmeyer. It's amazing. We've got Cobb Public Safety Appreciation Week. Please reach out to those people who serve and protect us and let them know how much you appreciate them. On the sports front, both Wheeler and Walton High School football teams are taking 3-0 records into Friday night competition. Walton against last year's state champion North Gwinnett, who they actually beat in the Corky Kell Classic last year. So it'll be a great matchup. It's going to be nationally televised on ESPNU. Wheeler will be facing Lassiter High School. And then also want to extend best wishes to the Walton Lady Raiders volleyball team. They're the #1 nationally ranked team. They are actually in a big tournament this weekend and will face some challenging teams this weekend in Las Vegas, and we wish them the best. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Ms. Thayer?
Thank you. I just want also to, again, this afternoon we had a great discussion about early literacy, and thank you, Mr. Ragsdale, for keeping us abreast of those things, and Ms. Lawson and Dr. Hill and your whole department. We appreciate all the efforts that are going forward in that. And I particularly want to commend Belmont Hills and Norton Park for being a part of that and the outstanding gains that they've seen, and also to our 12 schools that joined this year in that effort. Thank you. I think that's absolutely key to making the progress that we want to make. The more concentration we can have in early literacy, it's going to make a difference in our whole communities and our school system. So thank you, everyone who had a part to play in that. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thayer. Mr. Banks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Cobb County Commissioner Joanne Burrell and the Cobb County Board of Commissioners for the presentation of a proclamation to Davis Elementary School for their award as a School of Excellence out of 278 schools nationally. So it's a big honor. I want to thank the principal, the PTA, and the community for their support. And at the presentation, I made a statement that this award and this was not just something that was just given to them. It was something that they earned. So the Davis Elementary School has put in the necessary requirements and necessary work to receive this award. Also, I want to thank the board for approving the Lassiter Gym, which I hope will start breaking ground next month. And I have a trivia question. You hadn't had one in a while.
You hadn't.
There are 2 high school principals who graduated from the same high school. Which high schools are those principals at? What are their names? And which high school did they graduate from? And when Mr. Ragsdale finishes his comments, if anybody's interested, I'll give you the answer.
I tell you what.
Here we go. Mr. Chastain.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to take my few minutes to remind everybody that when we say institution, we often think of buildings and we think of campuses and things like that. But the unseen institution in Cobb County, because we are a large county and we've been here for so long, is we have that connection of all our teachers, retired teachers, educators, administrators. And over at Sprayberry High School, there's an institution that's been there for many, many years, a couple. Coach Jim Frazier and his wife, Miss Wilma Irene Quarles Frazier. She passed away a couple of weeks ago. The celebration of life was this past Sunday. The chapel was filled with the majority of the people that I recognized. Look, they were also people who had taught here in Cobb County or had served in the school system. Miss Wilma spent 27 years at Sedalia Park Elementary and retired in 1986. So a lot of people of my generation who grew up in that part of Cobb County probably had her at one time or another at Sedalia Park, then went to East Cobb and Wheeler. And so Coach Jim, which Jim Frazier was longtime coach at Sprayberry, his name's on the stadium. And for years and years, and I started this when I got on the board, was every spring they host a pizza party for the football team. And so the numerous coaches that have come through Sprayberry have the mentor of the man that kind of helped build the program over there. So we'll miss Miss Wilma, and our thoughts and prayers are with Coach Jim and the family. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chastain. Mr. Ragsdale.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity. Again, I have to start off tonight with condolences, unfortunately, for students. We had a student, Fatima Assad, a junior at North Cobb High School, pass away. We had Thorne Anderson, an 8th grade student at Simpson Middle School, pass away. And just as recent as this morning, we had Philip Washington, a freshman at South Cobb High School, pass away. So certainly our thoughts and prayers are with those families in what no parent should have to endure. So our hearts go out to those and those family members. Kind of piggybacking on Mr. Scamahorn's statement about 9/11, the remembrance of a very tragic day in our history. It goes without saying, but certainly we want to remember those that lost their lives on that day. But it's also Remembrance of Patriots Day. And so we want to definitely be thankful for all the men and women in uniform, both in armed services and also first responders that, again, to steal Mr. Scamahorn's description, those that are running into the fight instead of away from it. So those individuals are the ones that when we reach out for help, that's who's coming. So we need to be definitely appreciative of all those individuals. And then as we recognized our public safety department earlier this evening, certainly want to talk about the first week of October's Public Safety Appreciation Week. We'll have the Chamber Public Safety Appreciation Breakfast, which is always an awesome event. It's always a packed house, and it really is awesome to see all the support for the first responders of public safety. And I can't say enough appreciation for our public safety department. The professionalism that we have in our officers is comparable to none. They go above and beyond each and every day. It's a tremendous and humbling position for me to have you guys with us. It means a lot, and we appreciate what you do for us. And I think somebody mentioned Alert Point previously. It might have been a public commenter. I don't remember. I apologize for that. But we did have, fortunately, unfortunately, good news, bad news situation at Campbell High School. We had the unfortunate event of having to use the Alert Point system. And again, as I explained at L&L meeting to all of our leaders and principals, assistant principals, et cetera, being the first at anything is always challenging. So we're working out our hurdles that we need to overcome. We're working out the tweaks that we need to get through. But the great news about it is hearing the interviews on TV of the kids that obviously had paid attention to the training, knew exactly what to do when the lights were going off. One guy said, one student said, he said, yeah, we thought they were just trying to catch us off guard, which kind of was a little bit humorous because we don't do it like that. But we do have drills. And he said, once they realized it wasn't a drill, they knew what to do, where to go, and how to do. Turn the cell phones off, on silent kind of stuff. So that was probably the most encouraging piece of it, is seeing that, number one, the system worked. Number two, the kids have paid attention to it. And so rather than being reactive, I just want to, again, applaud everybody in this district that was involved because that was being proactive. And that's just an example of why it's better in Cobb. And we take student and staff safety as a top priority. And that was just demonstrated during that event. Now, fortunately, it turned out to be a non-event, but what allowed the situation to transpire and not get out of hand was the ability for every single badged employee on the campus to be able to issue that code red, which is what happened based on a student's report. Once the investigation was done, determined that it was not an actual event that needed to be further dealt with. The all clear was given and everything worked as it was supposed to. And I just want to say again, I appreciate the patience of the high school principals because again, when you're first in line in something, you've got to work through the tweaks and being from the technology side of things, I get that more than anybody. But I really want to say how much I appreciate the principals working through that with us and the staff at all of the high schools being able to work through that because it's been, it really is encouraging to see it in action and to know that what you've put into place has the ability to save lives moving forward. So we're greatly appreciative of that. Our thoughts and prayers also go out to all of those in the path of Hurricane Florence as it's coming. I think it's been downgraded, but, downgraded from 130 to 110. That's still 100 miles an hour wind. So, they're still actually in the recovery mode of the last hurricane that hit. So it's just really, it's really hard to see people say that, we're leaving and we hope our house is still there when we get back. That's a tough deal. So as Mr. Morgan brought up, CBS wanted to throw a shout out to them, Karen Greer and all of her colleagues from CBS 46 came out to Sanders. It was a tremendous event. It's always awesome to see people recognize the importance of having kids have books at home. We can do so much, between 8 and 2:30 at an elementary school. So we do have to depend and rely on those parents to be engaged at home. We do things like CTLS Parent and all of those kind of things, but to have partners come up beside us and identify those schools that need a little bit of extra assistance that perhaps those kids may not have as many books at home as other kids do. That's simply amazing, and we definitely appreciate that. And finally, again, I just want to give a shout out to the board and how much I appreciate Ms. Thayer, you hit it in your comments about the conversation we had about early literacy. It not being just a goal that we throw out there to say, hey, we're gonna try to get everybody on grade level reading by third grade, but to have a conversation that went about 2 hours, I think, and the board being so engaged and so not just engaged, but genuinely caring about the results that's coming about from this. That shows that, again, I say it all the time, the one team of our mission statement starts with us, superintendent and the board. And I just really appreciate the opportunity that you allow us to have that, I've been in the chair of John Adams, and it seems like that, when you're in his chair, it's the business of the board meeting to get the business of the district done. And a lot of school districts, I think, unfortunately lose the focus of a school board meeting to be able to have the board involved and engaged into the business of what we do, which is educate kids. Recognizing the great work that our teachers do and our staffs. Every team member matters, and it's just real easy to wear shirts and to wear swag that has our mission statement on it because we live it. And you'd be hard pressed to find any employee in our district that not only knows it but doesn't believe that we live it and live it in their lives as in their careers as educators as well. So I just want to say again how much I appreciate you guys and the relationship we have and the fact that the team starts with us. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. Mr. Banks, did you have the answer?
No. I do.
Everybody's waiting.
All right, the two high schools is Altoona and Harrison. And the school that they graduated from is North Cobb.
Who are the principals?
I think you're making
Who are the principals?
Principal at Harrison is Ashlyn Campbell, and the principal at Altoona is Candace Wills.
And they both attended. And they both attended North Cobb.
They graduated from North Cobb.
I thought Miss Campbell went to Harrison.
Trivia for every meeting.
I don't know if that's true or not. I thought Ms. Campbell went to Harrison, but yeah.
Regain control.
All right, here we go. Moving forward, Chairman's closing comments. First, I'd like to recognize Scoutmaster Kevin Wilson, who's here with Sam Wilson and Owen Wilson from Troop 008 from Marietta. They're working on our citizenship and community and communications merit badge. We'd like to recognize you. Will you please stand?
Awesome.
Thank you guys for coming out. Second, I'd like to thank the Hillgrove Culinary Arts Program students, Chef D. Smith, Chef Wanjiko Boccaccio, students Cameron Johnson, Chloe Nogami, Desiree Cortez, James Griffin, Luke Turner, Tu Tran for tonight's menu. We had a great meal. Everyone enjoyed it, and a lot of good comments in there. In closing, I'd like to commend the Hillgrove High School administration and the ROTC program for their 9/11 remembrance ceremony this week. I had the honor and opportunity to attend, and like to thank Principal Stewart and Chief Harris for carrying this event on. It was a tremendous event for the community and the students to see that and not to never forget what happened on that day. With that, if there's no more comments, we are adjourned.